Meanwhile, in Zimbabwe, the SABC's foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena, sat down with MDC Alliance leader Nelson Chamisa to reflect on several crucial issues. The main opposition leader has echoed South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's call for the lifting of sanctions against Zimbabwe. He, however, added the proviso that President Mnangagwa gets his house in order, as he puts it. The United States has extended sanctions by 1 year, saying they will only be lifted if Harare implements certain reforms.
We have said sanctions are not good for any country, but the key thing for us is to focus on the things that we can control. Why should we allow sanctions against our people to continue? Sanctions against our people through rape, sanctions against our people through arresting those who are not guilty or who have not committed any offense, sanctions against our people when we brutalize and beat up citizens, even killing citizens on the streets, sanctions when we deploy armed military men on the streets when it is not necessary. Those are sanctions we can immediately deal with. So sanctions of dictatorship must go. All we can do is to deal with the things that we can control.
But do you support the SADC region and the continent when they are calling on the Western powers in particular, or the superpowers, the EU and the Americans, to remove sanctions?
In fact, we support the position of Zimbabweans that they would want to see re-engagement and normalization of relations. But there can never be international re-engagement without national re-engagement. If we cannot dialogue amongst ourselves, it becomes very difficult to convince the international community and the world that indeed we want and are ready for dialogue.
Are you engaging with President Nelson Mnangagwa?
I've reached out to him, and he has not reciprocated. I've knocked on his doors. His doors are locked. In fact, there are iron doors and iron gates around himself. So we have tried to reach out, and it has not worked the way we would have wanted to see. And this is why we are saying this whole debate about sanctions is misplaced if we do not understand that we have fundamental issues of disputed elections, rigged elections that we're supposed to deal with. And the problem in Zimbabwe is not economics. It is actually politics. But for us to be able to have economic consolidation, we need democratic entrenchment to be able to go to the core issues Zimbabweans would want to be solved.
What do you want?
We want political reforms. We want comprehensive electoral reforms, media reforms. 39 years down the line, we still have one television station and no private television stations and no private radio stations. It doesn't make sense.
In terms of sharing power, do you want a government of national unity?
Look, that is the end product. What we want is the process. Let us have a shared vision. Let us have a shared understanding of what our issues are. Once that is done...
But for your supporters, they want to see you in power.
Well, the issue of power is not necessarily the core issue. The core issue is to say, are Zimbabweans themselves empowered? Are Zimbabweans themselves in power to determine their own destiny? Are they able to access opportunities? Is there transformation on the table? Are they able to be prosperous? Are we able to build into the block of SADC in terms of economic prosperity? All those things entail an understanding of what the core issue is. The crisis in the country is a crisis of governance, a crisis of leadership, a crisis of politics that is contaminated and that is acerbic. That is what we must address. And to be able to do that, we have to have political dialogue between ourselves and Mr. Emmerson Mnangagwa.
So Zimbabwe's President Emmerson Mnangagwa